First selection is actually the only selection you hear, but it's back-to-back movements. You'll probably clap in between, and that's 100% okay. But this is St. Paul's Suite by Gustav Holst. He's most famous for a piece called The Planets. The first movement is Mars, and if you've never heard it, you probably have, because if you've watched Star Wars, John Williams got a lot of those ideas from Gustav Holst. It's very similar. That's his big work. And there's these two wonderful string orchestra works. One is the Brook Green Suite, and this is the St. Paul Suite. And we're going to do the first and the fourth movement of that. They're both jigs, they're very fun, they're very dance-like. You'll hear the Greensleeves melody in the fourth movement. They have worked very hard. This is, I think, their 12th performance of the year. Lots of different repertoire, big repertoire. Go big or go home. That's kind of how we operate in the Castillero Chamber Orchestra. And they're fabulous young people. Can you please give a rousing round of applause, Castillero Chamber! Okay, so after that wonderful presentation of Gustav Holst, we're going to bring our zero period orchestra into the spring concert seating. So we should be relatively close, but if you could make your final adjustments quietly, and Indigo, thank you for staying quiet during the transition while we keep chatting and thanking people. We also have this incredible organization called the Castillero Music Booster Club. If you haven't signed up in the membership toolkit, it's where you get all sorts of information. We are featuring students of the month. You've got schedules, you've got all the field trip forms when trips come out. We've got methods of online payment versus bringing in checks. So the Castillero Music Booster Club website, which was designed and made by Eden Tan, he worked so hard on behalf of Castillero and put this great website together. I'm not sure if he's here tonight, although he's had so many things. Oh, he is here. Fantastic. A round of applause for Eden Tan and all that he's done. Thank you. Currently making sure that we're getting a wonderful copy of tonight's performance as a memory, and you'll see that on our Castillero YouTube page. It's under Castillero Communications YouTube. You can find that easily through the website, or is searchable as well. We also have just the entire board that works on behalf of all these great kids you see on stage, with fundraising efforts, helping us with our budgets, making sure we maintain our 501c3 status, and that's led by our great CMBC president, who got to deal with an audit this year and the things you get to do when you're president of a nonprofit, Charlene Thompson. We get a big round of applause for Charlene. I was really hoping I'd talk more about her and that she'd come to the front and maybe even sing a duet, but tonight, since it's a long concert, we'll save it for next time. Okay, great. And we can't do this without volunteer help. We know everyone is very busy. One of our strategies, which is kind of a funny one, is as we're looking for people to help, we always just find the busiest people, because somehow they find the time to help out. So thank you to all those busy people out there who still find time to support all these programs. We have a huge army of parents. There's a list that I'll be sharing during one of our other transitions, but since Zero Period is already ready, on with the show. This first selection is a throwback. The spring concert, we let them choose some of the repertoire because it's fun for them. It's their last concert. For many of these students that you see on stage, this next piece was the first piece they played when they joined Avant last year in their premiere performance. It's Perpetuoso, and when they were beginners that jumped up into the Zero Period Orchestra, that's a big piece to tackle, and it's definitely a big jump from hot cross buns. It's fun to look back at some of the pieces that used to kind of overwhelm us and see how far we've grown and how our skills have matured and advanced. So our first selection here is Perpetuoso, played 18 months after the first time they experienced this piece, with the skills they had coming out of the beginning orchestra and now as contributing members and leaders of the Avant Orchestra. This is Perpetuoso. selection. Also special memories, because when they come up to zero period or Indigo, once they've left the beginning orchestra, Four Seasons concert's a big deal. We always have these marquee soloists. This year we had Grammy-winning Dr. Aaron Lincoln perform with the saxophone. As you recall, he's probably here tonight. If you want to give him a round of applause again. Probably here tonight. Probably here tonight somewhere. And 2 years ago, we had Dr. Ariana Kim. She's been a longtime friend of Castillero. She's a full professor of violin at Cornell University. She and I sort of grew up together with the Palo Alto Chamber Orchestra doing our summer music chamber camp. And we've been friends for over 20 years. Fabulous violinist, her master's and doctorate degree from Juilliard, and just a brilliant, brilliant person, just very generous with all of her efforts. And I just like to find the people that have gone the furthest tend to be the most generous with what they have. And she willingly and happily comes to Castillero for multiple days, works with the students. She's helping them fix their thumbs and their wrists and their elbows as beginners, and then she solos with us at these concerts every few years when it works in her busy concertizing schedule. She's currently in India on a sabbatical, learning a whole new language and a whole new way of creating and writing music. She'll be back at Cornell in the fall working with her students, and then again visiting us in January. And so 2 years ago she performed a solo with the orchestra, and then since she was there, she filled in and played other tunes as well, and that was Remember Me. And Remember Me is this beautiful piece from Coco, and it's just this gorgeous, gorgeous harmonies, and also just this time of year a nice thing, because everything's changing and it's the natural order of things, and it's just nice to celebrate how far they've come and just sort of the beauty of that experience through music. So Remember Me is another connection to the past when Dr. Ariana Kim played the solo. Tonight it'll be Caleb Samuel. They have the same stylist. That's just to lighten the mood, because we're all going to get a little teary-eyed today, but truly, same stylist. And it's just, again, a beautiful piece of music that just sort of helps us all to remember the folks that came before us, that helped us become who we are. One of our weekly guests is, we call him Super Tall Ed. He's a violist, and he works with our violas. His father was my teacher, and he gave me basically everything: free lessons, a free place to live, helped me get free college, and he passed away last year, and he was in his 80s, and he's just a wonderful, wonderful man, and just, he's one less light on the world, but the thousands and thousands of students he worked with keeps those lights shining for all eternity and generations and generations. So this is a piece to help us look back at all the people who have brought us here and to look forward to how we can keep giving to others. This is Remember Me. Selection 4, the Avant Orchestra is Irish Legend. This one goes way back in time. When I was just starting, I had all these friends from the conservatories, my 20th year here, and I was just fresh out of grad school, and I was just trying to get the program to be exciting. So my friend Ken Lynn and I were in a trio in 2007. He and at that time girlfriend, now wife, we went to Taiwan and Korea, and we toured all around Asia, which was an incredible journey and a really fun experience, and all these great places to play. And we knew that we were just trying to build something here in the public schools so that kids had access and they would be excited as well. And he was happy to come in and perform. And one of the first things he performed, he did a bunch of things over the years. He now lives in Canada, so the commute's a little harder. But he did a bunch of things. The first thing he did was the solo for Irish Legend. And this is back in about 2006, 2007. And tonight we're going to have 4 of our young musicians play it together. It's this really lilting, gorgeous opening and very fiery sort of Irish step dance that happens towards the middle. And it's very hard to play all together. They've been working hard together, individually and as a group. And then Nori Tagawa is one of the friends of Castillero. He's also one of the first people that helped me here. When I showed up in 2005, we only had about 45 working instruments, and he's a luthier among many things, and he helped me get access to instruments and get instruments to these students so this program could grow. He was here tonight helping tune and setting up chairs, and this is just, he's sort of the Mary Poppins of the music world. He flies in, fixes things, and flies off to the next program to help. So again, it just takes a lot of people over many, many years to see what you have in front of you. This is not ever an individual, this is many, many collective humans that work together to make this happen. So this is a nice, fun little tribute to Ken Lynn, if he happens to be watching up in Vancouver, and to Nori for just making sure that this program got off the ground and we had access to all these instruments, and just celebrating the greatness of these students who work very, very hard. This is Irish Legend.